Welcome to episode 4 of the ZANTASTIC podcast. In this episode, we're going to talk about technology. Technology touches nearly every aspect of our life, whether we're texting our children or researching things. We don't go to the library anymore. All of the knowledge of human existence and human expression is available to us sometimes in the pocket of our pants. Technology is incredibly important for content creators, but I see so many people getting tripped up on making technology decisions. And in this episode, we're going to talk about a strategy that you can use in order to not let technology get in the way. But first of all, if you are new here, my name is Kathy Zant. I have been a content creator for a number of brands for a long time. I have my own YouTube channel where I talk about security, and there's links down below if you want to go check some of that out. But this podcast is more about the human spirit. It is more about human connection, human communication, and you finding out what makes you fantastic and sharing your voice. If that all sounds interesting to you, I would love a subscribe. And if any of this content helps you, give me a like. But let's dive right into it. Let's talk about some of the challenges we have with technology. There's so many different options to do anything. There are a multitude of social media networks. There are a multitude of content management systems for websites. There are email service providers. There are various tools you can use for writing, for photo editing, for creating graphics. The selection is nearly endless. So how do you find the best tool? How do you find the best tool for you? Let's talk through some of this. Well, first of all, you have to define what problem you're trying to solve or what aspiration that you have very clearly. You have to understand what it is that you're trying to do. Do you have goals, constraints? Sometimes money can be a constraint. There might be specific requirements. Maybe your videos have to be edited in a certain way. You have to know, is it going to be landscape? Are you going to TikTok or Instagram Reels or YouTube Shorts? Or are you going to do it landscape, more of a widescreen type of thing? You have to define what it is you're trying to do. And in order to do that, you have to understand who it is that you're trying to reach and what your goals are with them. You have to have a clear understanding of who you are and what your brand is, what it is that you are trying to represent before you can start making some of these decisions when you're defining the problem. Maybe you are an amazing writer, but you do not want to put your face on screen. I get it. The first time I had to record a podcast, I had a coffee cup much like this, but there was wine in it just to kind of calm my nerves, take the edge off a little bit. I was not ready to be out there to the world. I made it sort of a bigger problem in my head than it actually was. A few episodes later, I was fine and back to coffee, and here I am a year and a half and not having a drink at all. I would have never guessed, but I'm happier and healthier doing that. But you have to understand what your message is and get out of your head. And sometimes you just have to click record. You might just want to get started with the written word. And that's great. That's awesome. There are so many different AI tools that you can use in order to make sure that your message really gets across. You can write your own content and then edit it in a number of various tools like Grammarly or even some AI tools that can improve your writing. Or you might be just comfortable turning the camera off and speaking into a microphone. That might be where your constraint is. So you need to define what the problem is that you're trying to solve and what are the constraints. What are the financial constraints? What are the constraints that you have with your comfort level? And sometimes you need to work within that comfort level, and sometimes you need to just bust out of it and feel the fear and do it even though you're feeling fear. So define what the problem is, what you're trying to solve. The next thing you need to do is really set some targets with growth and scalability. Where are you trying to go? Now, you could say, I want to be the next Mr. Beast. I want 100 million subscribers on my YouTube channel. If that really is your goal, then that's going to change some of the tools. That's going to change the problem and change the aspiration. The scalability of whatever it is you're trying to do is an important question when you are determining the technology that you're going to use. Now, if you are going to go like Mr. Beast mode, you're going to want to get amazing cameras. You're going to want to hire a team. But then if that comes up against the restraints of finances, he's spending like millions of dollars on every single video. You have to find out where you are. But keep that big vision in in your mind. It is incredibly important for all of us as content creators to think about what we can do today, but also dream about what we want to do tomorrow. Keep that vision alive and do what you can with the constraints you have today, but keep the vision of where it is you're going. Now, some of us might say, I don't care about becoming the next Mr. Beast, but I just want to grow my business so that I can quit my 9-to-5 job. I just want to grow something. So then the scalability issue isn't necessarily a problem, but what you need to consider is how are you going to build connections with that audience that are going to want to pay you for your services, for your content, for your assistance. Whatever you are doing in order to help someone else can be profitable. What does that look like, and how do you scale your income into that space? What tools do you need? Now, there are many of us, we have favorite tools. For many creators, Canva is the tool for creating graphics or thumbnails. It has such a low barrier to entry for getting content done. Canva is the choice, but it isn't the right choice for everything. You have to start with where you are and check out what is compatible with your comfort level. But you also check out what is compatible with the tools and the platforms that you want to use. Some people want to create art in maybe Procreate on their iPad, and that's going to be something that they're going to be using. How do you then get that into a publishable format that you can share that with your audience? So you have to understand the technological requirements of the tools that you want to use. And I just want to say here that one problem that many people have is they will go into an analysis paralysis when they're looking at tech tools. They will look at things and they want to know every single feature of every single product that they are evaluating because it is such a pain in the butt. I had to last year, I switched email service providers and I switched into a tool that someone else recommended. It was less money. It wasn't going to have the same problems I was having with my previous email service provider. And I went into it and it created an entirely different set of problems for me. The tool, I don't want to call them out, but their editor for the email was so clunky, so hard to use, and it was just very janky, and it stopped me. I stopped publishing my newsletter because the tool was just so hard to use. It created that friction where I would just get into it. I've since changed to an email service provider that just has zero friction and makes things incredibly easy for me. Not much more money, but saves me so much more mental stress and anguish, and has all these other tools I haven't even touched yet. But that friction of usability just stopped me dead in my tracks. I thought it was going to be better. Someone had advised me and said it's going to save you money and it's going to do this and it's going to make us be able to do that and the other thing. And I was like, oh, great. That sounds awesome. Because I was having all these other problems with my previous email service provider where they had this special like sign up for the newsletter page and I was getting tons of spam registrations, but I was also getting my friends registering from there that weren't double opting in, and it was becoming incredibly confusing and difficult to manage. And so I was wondering, how do I tell that somebody says, well, just don't email anybody that hasn't opted in? I'm like, well, I see my friends in here who haven't opted in, and they couldn't solve that problem. These types of things happen with technology, and the thing is not to live with that. Don't live with the problem any longer than you have to. Test out other tools. It's okay to test out other tools. I spent a couple of months just testing out various other email service platforms when I found that the second one was janky and wasn't going to work for me. I tested out a number of them and finally settled on one that had 0% friction, and I moved my list over and it was easy. The good thing is with a lot of these tools, they know that their next customer is going to require some kind of migration. So if you can't do it yourself, ask for help. Ask these tools, hey, I've got my list over here and I want to move it over. How can you help me? What can I bring over? Can I bring over any tags? Can I bring over any history? How can I get started with you? Make it easy for me. And they are prepared to do that. So ask for help if you need that kind of help. Content management systems like WordPress, Wix, Squarespace, you can choose from a billion different ways of creating a website. Even some very specific niche services, like I'm working working right now in the coaching industry, and I'm seeing services that will not only help you onboard new coaches and deal with all your finances, but here's a web page for you to set up. All kinds of tools that are available to get a website set up. But you have to think about the scalability. Are you going to be publishing content that you want to create a website that houses all of your content and gives you flexibility going forward? Well, you have to take that into consideration. But the problem is many of us get stuck in analysis paralysis. We start going over these tools and we spend way too much time trying to make the right decision rather than just making a decision and making that decision right. You make a decision, you run with it, and if it doesn't work, very quickly change to something else that is going to work better for you. You have to evaluate the performance of these tools in that way, but it has to be something that works for you. There is no one right answer for anyone. Now, I share that email service provider story as just an example of somebody who has had 2 decades of experience sending out emails. I used to write PHP scripts and loops to send emails out to my husband's mailing list before there were email service providers even available. It was back like when MailChimp was good, but importing somebody in and doing all this stuff, it was just easier for me to write a PHP script and go do that. I could still do that. Do I want to? No, it's probably not the most effective way of doing so. I want to, track opens and easy unsubscribe, all of that kind of stuff. I don't want to have to write scripts and feel like a spammer when you're sending out emails in that way. You have to find out what is right for you and what's going to reduce friction, what's going to allow you to have more free time to focus on your business, to focus on serving customers, to focus on that big picture goal that you have in your mind. What are you trying to scale into? You need to spend more time on that and less time focusing on technology. So sometimes you just have to make a decision and then somehow make that decision right. Something that has evolved in technology that is incredibly useful: community, reviews, other people's experiences. Now, sometimes this doesn't necessarily work. I mean, my one friend who's like, try this email service provider, and it was terrible. Sometimes those types of opinions don't necessarily work, but when you go and you read people's reviews of this is how it worked for me, take multiple opinions in and make a decision based on what other people have experienced rather than flashy marketing. I think so many of us do that. The great thing is, especially in open source software platforms like WordPress has been, the community is so strong. And if you can just get a pulse on what the community thinks about a particular product, you will understand how that product is going to work for you for the long run. If you're going to set up an online store, all of your customer data, your product data, your sales data, everything goes into a database. And in a lot of these systems, it's very proprietary. Getting information out of that and into another system can be quite a challenge. We have to make that decision based upon the factor of longevity. Longevity becomes a much more important factor for us when we're thinking about e-commerce, just because so much is riding on that decision. For some people, WooCommerce is absolutely the best solution out there. For other people, Shopify can be such a game changer and make going to market so much easier and so much faster. But where are you? What are you selling? Is it a digital product? Is it a physical product? Do you need shipping? All of those types of things. Or maybe you're just doing free downloads or small products where you could use a much less robust system where you don't need to have all of the shipping and product variations and all of that stuff that go into a full-featured e-commerce platform. You have to know what it is you're trying to do and where it is you're trying to go. And of course, that is going to change. You are going to get further down the road and you're going to look around and you're going to say, what if I do this? And it might change your technological decisions at that point. But I think so many people get stuck into thinking that far down the road. Well, what if in 5 years I want to have physical products in addition to all of my digital products? And it stops them from making a decision now. That decision of selling physical products isn't impacting you right here, right now. So don't make it until it's time. Maybe you'll start digital products on one commerce platform, and 5 years from now, it might be the perfect time to move into physical products, and in migrating to a new system, it's going to be easy, or maybe you'll start a new system altogether and you have support to handle that for you. It's all going to make sense when it is the right time. Don't let technology stop you. Of course, we have to talk about security. I've been the security lady. The best thing to do when you are evaluating security features of a product is to turn to history. Look at change logs, look at what features have been added to a specific software product, and how many security fixes have they had in the past. Also, look at how they've handled security fixes in the past. Have they been completely forthright? Have they been very honest when there has been a security problem? Or was it something that they tried to hide or sweep under the rug or not be completely honest that there was a security problem? You want to find software developers that are going to tell you the truth about the products that they're offering, that they're telling you, yes, there was a security problem. Here's what happened. Here's how we fixed it. Here's what to do if you are impacted. And here's the, small set of people who are impacted. These types of things help you make some determinations about security. Also, there's plenty of reviews out there that talk about security. There are plenty of experiences. So search those things out. Just search for the product name and security, and that will give you that data point on security so that you can make the right decisions. Also, you need to evaluate the learning curve that it has. Is the learning curve going to pay off, or is this a learning curve that's just going to slow you down? Now, with fancy camera equipment, fancy microphones, fancy recording studios, all of that stuff, that is just going to slow you down. All of that fancy stuff is not a big deal unless you're going to become, Mr. Beast. Then you'll have to consider all of that stuff. But right now you have a message. You have something that someone else needs. And the only thing you really need are a few things. A camera. This camera got on Amazon Prime Day or something for less than $100, and it works. It's just fine. I have a fancier camera, but I also have dogs that like to knock things over, and so that camera will die, and I can't leave it set up all the time. It'll come out for fancy things eventually, but right now I just have a message. I've got a fancy microphone just because I had to record podcasts, and I wanted a fancy microphone, but I also have cheap microphones. I also have my phone, and my phone can record audio. It can do voice to text. It can take pictures. It can do all sorts of fancy things. You have in the palm of your hand something that can help you right now create content. But if you're going to get tied up in technology and tied up making these decisions, you're going to get stuck in analysis paralysis, and it's going to stop your message. Here's the thing. Once you get your message out, all of the other things start to solve themselves on their own. Solutions start to arrive because you are in the flow. When you are in the flow of your energy, of you getting your message out, of the magic of messages coming in from your higher self and going out into the world, when you are in that place, magic is happening in your life, and those hard decisions get solved quickly and easily. Someone mentions, hey, I did this thing or the other, or you come across a social post that inspires you to go check out a new technology. Those type of magical things are going to happen when you're in your flow. They're not going to happen when you're in your head. They're not going to happen when you're in analysis paralysis. They're not going to happen when you are forcing yourself to make the right decision instead of making any decision and then making that decision right. This is the way. One thing that I do want to mention about technology is that you do need to think about the future and consider it at least. Don't let it stop you from doing something today, but you want to consider the internet, its foundations. Basically, every content management system is just another way to get to that /end HTML. It's all HTML with a little support of JavaScript and a little support of CSS. You don't need to worry about all of that. You just need to consider the fact that all technology is trying to get to the end goal of getting your content available to everyone worldwide, your content available to your target market. That is the only goal of the technological decisions that you will be making as you evaluate what technologies are going to support your business. There are a million ways to get your message out. Don't let the million ways get in the way of you just getting your message out, because you have to get it out there so that you can test it, so that you can try new things, so that you can fail and get feedback, so that you can succeed and make connections. This is the ultimate goal of everything that you're doing. It is not the best technology. You can have the fanciest camera out there and make the crappiest videos. Ask me how I know. It's happened. I've seen it. I've seen people who are just like deep into the technology and they're so sure of themselves because they have the perfect tech, but the perfect tech doesn't make the perfect content. You do. It's your voice. It's your message. It's your life purpose. So get out there and do it. And don't let technology get in the way. I do hope that some of the tips and tricks that I've gathered over 20 years in the tech industry can help you make better decisions about the tech you're using going forward so that you can do what you came here to do. Get your message out there. Find new people to connect with and ultimately find the success you're after. I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions about technology, you can ask me. If you have questions about that email service provider that I was evaluating or the ones I had problems with, I'll share that in a DM or in a private message. I'd love to hear from you. You can message me, Kathy@Zant.com. Until next time, I'll see you on Zantastic. Thank you for watching, and we will talk to you soon.